Welcome everyone back to the Crimson 15 podcast. I'm your host, Crimson Sin.
And 15 PCA.
80454.
Be sure to follow us over on Twitter at C15 Podcast. So, episode 3 of She-Ra and the Princess of Power. Slightly better than the other two, but we're comparing just different varying levels of mediocrity. This one's just a tiny bit better. But we open up and we have, they're on their way, the trio, what did he call them? Bestie Squad or whatever. They're on their way back to Bright Moon, which is also the name of the queen too. So she's named. So is she named after the land, or is the land named after her? Then we don't know. They don't ever talk about that. But we get some pretty okay to good looking backgrounds. Maybe not this shot. This one's kind of crappy. But the other one's like the castle looks pretty good, and they're on their way there. And then of course it's actually a really funny scene, but not for the reasons that they intended it to. We get Glimmer's like, I have to go talk to my mom, and she has to go recharge. And because I guess when she uses her power, she gets like weak or whatever, so she has to go recharge. And it's like, hey, Bo, why don't you take her in the back way? And he's like, oh yeah, I like the back way. They keep saying the back way, and I don't know if they don't get it, but that's funny. They sneak, so they basically it's the way that he always sneaks into her room. So they're in Glimmer's room, and then we get Bo just being just silly and weird, and let's get you some other clothes. And he's like, put this on. Try this. And he's just being. They're trying so hard to make Bo into Sokka from Last Airbender, and it just fails. He's not likable. He's not funny. He's just like that weird, cheerful guy who's just always happy for no freaking reason. At least Sokka would get angry, would be funny. He would use sarcasm and jokes to cover up like his incompetence a little bit. But this guy he's always happy all the time. So why is he always cracking all the it just doesn't fit. It just doesn't come off very well. Then we get to Glimmer meets her mom, and they're on the Rainbow Bridge to their freaking building. And then of course she's scolding her, saying, what were you doing? And the whole everyone in the castle's looking for you. And of course she's running out of energy, so she can't even really pay attention to what her mom's saying. And she passes out, and then we get a concerned looking Bright Moon, which is nice that she actually cares about her daughter, and it shows that, yes, I am yelling at you, but I do care about you. So that's nice. I like the fact that shows you that she's a mom, and, a mom first and then a queen. Then we cut to her getting recharged on the thing, and of course it shows that, I don't know how long it takes, but it was pretty quick. And she's like doing all her sparkle magic, and she gets like really hyper. So I'm assuming it's like she drank like 4 cups of coffee. So she's being really weird and very talky and jumping around and moving around. It's I find that to be irritating and not so much funny. But we cut back to Bo and Adora, and then the room, and another gag that just isn't funny. Bo keeps opening the door and closing the door and like making sure no one's coming like down the hall, I guess. And it's supposed to be funny. It's just really dumb. And just like in every episode he's done this, she's like, I guess, if they see a Horde soldier, they're going to be all, everyone in the castle's going to freak out. And then Bo's like, once they get to know you like we have, they're going to love you. And it's like, Bo, why do you got to be like this? You freaking suck. And then again, to show that Bo's a coward, Glimmer teleports into the room, and of course he freaks out. Not Adora, she just doesn't even react to it. But Bo literally screams and acts like a little pansy because that's who he is. And then she gets in there, she's like, we're going to show you my mom. She's going to love you, and everything's going to be great. And that was really weird, how Adora is holding the sword by the blade. It's like, why are you holding it like that? It's like the dumbest way to hold the sword. But she's like, you're going to be like, turn to She-Ra, and my mom's going to love you. And she's like, I can't just do it. It's like, I've only done it when someone was in trouble, which kind of reminds me a lot of the Avatar state, where Aang in the beginning wasn't able to tap into that unless his life was in danger. So she keeps trying to do it, and she keeps failing, and then they go, keep practicing, we're gonna go talk to my mom, try to figure it out. She's trying, she's falling and slipping and knocking things over, and she can't figure it out. She sees the horse that they took out in this little wooded area, this little grassy area, and of course they keep calling the horse Horsey. There's a little payoff at the end for that, but she keeps saying it, and it's like, it's so stupid, stop saying that. So she puts on a little cape, and they go out there, and then of course she gives the horse a hug, and I guess the horse makes her more comfortable. I don't know. Then we get a montage of her staying by the honor of Grayskull a bunch of different ways, even in like different voices, and then like lower voices, and then higher voices. And again, more gags. It goes on a little too long. It's not funny. She can't figure it out. She's rolling around and everything, and then she kind of says it one last time out of like desperation, kind of, and then it transforms Horsey into a Pegasus type creature, but it has a horn too. So are we doing a Milo pony? Is an alicorn? I don't know what the proper term would be, but it turns into this winged alicorn Pegasus thing, and it starts freaking out. Takes off, of course, because I guess the horse doesn't realize, well, what the hell just happened to me? I didn't mention this in the last episode, but I do like these wood people, the ones with the horns, and they're kind of like satyrs, kind of a little bit, kind of cool, and they kind of showed off some other creatures, I don't say creatures, other races of people in this world. They're kind of cool designs. I kind of like those people, but they're not main characters, so we're probably never going to see, they're not going to actually be part of the story. But the horse starts rampaging through what looks like a camp or a barracks or something, and Adora's trying to stop it, and her cape gets knocked off, and they see that she's a Horde soldier because it has a symbol on the back. Then everyone starts attacking her. She's trying to protect herself, runs away, falls into the water. And I don't know if it's perspective, but in some of these scenes, I should have it up on screen, Adora looks really, really thick, like compared to other parts. I don't know if that's probably just, because they're the low quality animation and art where there's not much consistency, but man, she looks awful in some of these scenes where she's going through the water. We cut back to the castle where we're having another gag where Glimmer and Bo can't just tell the mom, hey, we found this sword, and everything is like, oh, it's going to be a big surprise when you see it. And like, they're like, I don't know, I'm surprised they didn't have a blindfold on her and saying, oh, 1, 2, 3, open your eyes, It's just silly. And then Bo's like, oh, I'll go get the surprise, wink, wink. And he runs off. And I like how Bright Moon makes the comment, oh, I like that boy. And she has like her British accent. And it's almost like, I like him because he's so agreeable. He's just such a nice guy. Bo comes running back, doing that weird little hoppy, nervous thing. And he has, the little beady eyes. And he's like, oh, there's a problem. The surprise is missing. And then that's at the same time some of the Royal Guards, which I think have a really cool design. They're very Lord of the Rings looking type guards. Like these guards I like the armor design and everything. It's pretty cool. They're like, oh, there's a spy. When it was found in the camp. And then, of course, Bright Moon figures out, oh, is this the surprise? You brought a freaking enemy soldier to our castle? That's your great, wonderful surprise that I'm going to love so much. Then we cut back to the Fright Zone, and we get that team, that original team we saw in the beginning that was Adora's little strike force team. They're all talking about the battle that just happened. So I'm assuming that they were there. And we get the one girl with the cornrows who's like, oh man, there was this princess and she was like 11 feet tall. That's not even close to being 11 feet tall. But of course, I'm assuming she's just, when she's doing, you tell a story, you just grandstand and just make it bigger than it is. And we get of course, the wimpy kid is the one that's like getting all bandaged up because only the boy's the only one who got hurt and needs to be taken care of. It couldn't be any of the female characters. It's always going to be this dopey little boy. Catra's pouting in the corner, and she knows everything. She knows it's Adora. She knows that all of her secret. I'm thinking, oh, this is a time where is she going to tell it or is she going to keep it to herself? She keeps it to herself because the other people like, oh yeah, like you did anything. Oh, you fought her up close. You could even hit her. And Catra's like, oh, I could beat her at any moment if I wanted to. And it's like, no, you couldn't. Even unless she gets like powered up, there's no way she could fight She-Ra because it shows how incredibly physically strong She-Ra is. They already established that She-Ra can pick up one of those spider tanks and just throw it. Well, I mean, no effort. Throw it like I was throwing a pillow across the room. So if she were to swing her sword at Catra, it would like completely smash right through her. Like there's no way she could even begin to fight her. But they're having their little scuffle and she gets pushed back and the I don't know if she has a name yet, I didn't catch it, but the girl with the dreadlocks, cornrows, she's like, oh yeah, Adora's not here to protect you anymore. And it's like, that's true. That was probably like, every time that Catra would get in trouble, Adora was always the one to, minimize all the screw-ups that Catra does because apparently she screws up a lot. Cut back to She-Ra through Adora running through the woods, and This is just something that happens in all cartoons. You can't have the character think, so they're always talking out loud. So she's talking to no one about how she can't figure anything out or anything. And then we get to the part of the show where I found it to be kind of dumb, but I kind of like this character, the Razzle Dazzle lady. This like little old lady in the woods. It's a trope that's in a ton of fairy tales and stuff. She runs into this old lady, and this old lady's like, "Oh, it's you, Mara. Come inside." So they allude to the fact that there were previous She-Ras, like She-Ra. Kind of reminds me a lot of Thor. Whoever holds the hammer is Thor. So whoever gets the sword is She-Ra, and technically there might have been other She-Ras. But then they kind of, I don't know if they disconfirm that at the end of the episode when we get to that. But I like that idea that it's not just one person. It's something that can get passed down. I guess that'd be a fun way to change the original story and kind of make it to where it's a hero throughout time. And it's always a new person who's worthy of becoming She-Ra. I like that. That's a cool concept that they may or may not follow. They get up in there, they go into her little like wood hut, and she's just crazy old lady. "Oh, we're here you finally here so we can pick some berries." And of course Adora's like, "I don't know who you think I am." She's like, "Oh, you got the sword, so you must be Mara, and we're here to pick berries." So, she goes along with it. They're walking along, and, every conversation with every crazy old lady in every cartoon ever done is basically what happens here. They've come across First One's tech. And are they going with there's no magic, there's just technology? Is that how they're going to explain everything? But then how does Glimmer and them do her stuff? Is it through technology or is it through magic? I kind of like the idea that it's just magic, but they're really pushing this technology thing. They come across this, looks like a spire of some kind. Old lady's up there, "Oh, this is where the best berries are." She starts to get activated and everything, and it kind of shows like a hologram city. I don't know if it's supposed to be a map or whatever. And Adora's like, "I remember some of this," and she's kind of having flashbacks about her life. And very Superman-ish, where I guess she came from another planet and it crash landed. That's what it looks like. And, of course, all her memories are fuzzy and she can't really remember. And this is the part where it could have been serious, but they play it up for, like, a joke. She, like, tells the old lady, she's like, "Rather, if you know something about me, please tell me." She's desperate to know about her past. She's like, "All I know is we're here to pick berries." And it's like, you bring in the silly, and it could have been something deep and meaningful. Then we cut back to Catra, and she has like a little, I don't know, I'm surprised she didn't, she carved a vestige of her and Adora, like, in her bunk. And I'm surprised it wasn't hard around it with the little arrow and everything. But no, it's just on there. And she has a little, freak out because, that's what girls do. They can't control their emotions, so they have little freakouts. And she destroys her bed, and of course she has to cry. Shadow Weaver shows up, and it's like, "You freaking failed again. We send you out there, we give you this responsibility, and you can't get it done." And of course, Catra, being Catra, starts talking crap. This girl is out of her damn mind. This person apparently is very powerful. She was afraid of her, saying, "Oh, if I don't bring you back, I'm going to be in so much trouble." But then now, when that trouble comes, she starts acting like a fool again. And Shadow Weaver is like 1,000,000% right. She's like, after you failed, you think you'd be, a little more not so being a freaking insubordinate little brat. And she's like, of course, it's so funny. She just says the dumbest things. "Catra, you're going to get killed." Like, I don't know why they haven't just got rid of her, because she even openly states, "Oh, if Adora wanted to be back, she'd come back. She like defected to the other side, and maybe she had the right idea." Yeah, you say that to the person who has the power, who could possibly just snuff your life out in a second. It's crazy that she can think she can say these things. But, of course, she gets all big and scary and says, "Oh, no, you're not going to deal with me. You're going to deal with Lord Hordak." And then you see Catra start to cower and get a little scared. It's like, yeah, about freaking time, you dummy. Keep those thoughts and feelings to yourself if you don't want to get killed. We cut back to Razzle, old lady, and Adora going through the woods, of course, because they're supposed to be berry picking. They don't really pick much berries. And she brings it to like a battlefield of like a bunch of like destroyed like Hordak's tanks and stuff are all busted up. And then like Adora's having this, they can't do this, whatever. Like, can't do what? It's just some blown up tanks. Like, it would have been better if like the other scene in the last episode where you saw like an actual village get destroyed. This is just like snow and tanks like It doesn't really show anything. It kind of reminds me, if they would have done to do this better, it was like when Aang went back to the air temple and all the monks were killed. Like you saw skeletons and everything. They're all dead. That would have been more powerful of an image than just some busted up tanks. But then we get actually another kind of point that I kind of liked was we have this, the Razzle old lady is talking to Adora saying, oh, back in the day, the princesses would have protected all of us, but now they just protect themselves in their own lands. They only care about their own people, and they're letting all the like people who live in the woods and stuff who aren't necessarily part of a kingdom fend for themselves. I'm like, well, actually showing the princesses aren't perfect, and there's, She-Ra would be the one to protect everyone, and I like that. That's a nice concept, showing a little bit where maybe the princesses aren't making the right decisions. They're kind of being a little bit selfish. It's a small little moment. It's a tiny little twinkle of something cool, but I'm glad it was said. Then we hear Swiftwind. Is that the name of the horse? Swiftwing? I think it's Swiftwind. It's being like captured by a whole bunch of like Hordak soldiers. So they're throwing nets around it and everything. And of course, Adora ain't having none of that. So she turns into She-Ra, goes down there and starts kicking some butt. And we get this big burly looking guy. A little more detail. It's just he looks a lot like the blue guy from the first episode, just like a lump. Give us a little more detail here. But then we get a fight scene that just isn't any good. It's boring. It's slow paced. It's not very dynamic. It's just a lame fight scene. And everyone just has like shields and stuff. It's like freaking shooter. Of course, she's kicking everyone's butt, and then they don't even stand a freaking chance. Then there's like a weird scene where Razzle is like hitting a soldier with the broom, but he's standing there like a mannequin, like he's not real. And then it goes to like attack her, and then Swiftwind comes in and just like stomps on him, which would absolutely kill you. But they made sure to show him like struggle for his weapon, then pass out, because if a horse landed on you, you're dead. Your spine is snapped. It's game over. You freaking died. And then we see someone's trying to shoot that big brown burly looking guy's trying to shoot Swiftwind out of the sky, and then Adora chops the top off the tank, which just chops the tip off the front of the tank, and then he's still able to shoot it. So She-Ra took a tank shot, point blank range, right in the freaking chest, and it kind of knocked her out a little bit. Like you can see that she's like glowing, but it looks like her energy's being broken. So I'm like, well, at least it showed her get hurt a little bit, that she can't, she's an invincible to everything. And a scene that did make me chuckle, the guy's like, oh yeah, I got her. And then Swiftwind goes and stomps him on his head. Again, he'd be dead if that happened. Adora's knocked out, and then Razzle does, ninja vanish. Pff, they disappear, and then they're back in her little hut. So I don't know if that made them teleport, or if that just made them, cloud of smoke and they ran away. I'm assuming it's a teleport. They don't really show it. She wakes up and she's Adora in her little hut, and she's talking to her, and she's like, oh yeah, this is Swiftwind. He thanks you for coming to save him, and he wanted it. And this is where the payoff for the whole horsey thing. She's like, oh yeah, and by the way, he wants you to know that horsey name was a stupid name. Thank you for acknowledging how incredibly dumb that was. And Adora comes to the actualization that, yes, I have to protect the people. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this power of She-Ra, and I'm going to protect the people who aren't being protected by anyone. So I'm going to go back, talk to the queen, and I'm going to, let them know who I am and what I plan to do. Cut back to this is another weird situation. Why in the world would Bright Moon berate her daughter, like in the royal chamber in front of everyone? There's like even citizens there. Wouldn't that be like a private thing? Like you go to a side room and then I'm talking to my daughter. No, she's like doing it in front of everyone, like yelling at her. It's like, come on, that's ridiculous. Then Bo's trying to like, always the peacemaker. Oh no, it's not all her fault. Be nice to her. Huh? And then even Brian was like, Bo, go home. That's what everyone's been saying at the beginning of the series. Bo, go home. Then She-Ra walks in with her moon boots. Again, at the worst designed boots of all time. And she's like walking through the, up to the queen, and everyone's like, oh, because she's all glowy and wonderful. And she's like, I'm here and I pledge myself to, the rebellion. But there's one thing I got to show you first. And she depowers, but comes a door and shows like, oh, it's a Horde soldier. And the mom knows, oh, She-Ra. Because I guess it was the legend of She-Ra. So they're always talked about it like, oh, she would come back in her time of need, like every legend ever. And she never believed it. But then she's like, oh, here you are. And then she asks her, you're going to betray your people and everyone you've lived with your whole life. You're going to fight for us to fight them. And then she's like, yes, I give my alliance to you. And the mom like puts her daughter in charge of her. It's like almost like, well, if you want this pet, you got to make sure to feed it and take it walkies. It's just like, it's so stupid. And then, of course, you get the big, best teams hugs. So everyone hugs, and of course, Adora cries because now she has a real family. Cut back to Catra being brought before Lord Hordak, and of course, she's rightfully scared. Thank you. Show some, I don't know how to say remorse, but she's actually scared to have to talk to to Hordak because he knows everything that Shadow Weaver says. Like, she gives her a lot of crap, but there's no way she would talk to Hordak the way she talks to Shadow Weaver. And, she explains the situation. She freaking sucks. She failed the mission, got her soldiers hurt, blew up all her war machines. She freaking failed. Maybe you shouldn't send children into battle. I don't know. Maybe that's a bad idea. Hordak sounds cool. He looks cool. I like that. It's a simple design, but it shows that he's evil. And it kind of showed that he's robotic. Because before they talked, and it showed like a bunch of little arms like putting stuff on him. Very Darth Vader-ish. And we got Catra is kneeling down, of course, and because she sucks. But Hordak comes with the idea that he's like, oh, so you're down a force captain. You didn't bring her back. So you have to get a new one. And Shadow Weaver's like, there is no other anyone for promotion. So all they have is 5 kids in this academy, her little group. There is no one else. No one even remotely close to being promoted. It's kind of ridiculous that all you have is children. Recruitment numbers are way low. We can only get kids to join the army. So Hordak's like, well, just make her captain. Even though she like spectacularly failed, which is kind of ridiculous. So instead of being punished, she's rewarded? Very weird. So he gives her the merit badge of promotion, and then she has that little look on her face like, oh yeah, I showed her. And that's how the episode ends. We got a little bit of backstory, a little bit of decent story elements, but again, just more mediocrity. On the 3rd day of She-Ra, Noelle Stevenson gave to me another mediocre story. It's just okay. It hasn't done anything horrible, hasn't done anything good either. Just right down the line, another 5 out of 10 episode. And tomorrow we have episode 4.
Crimson Sin here. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like, sub, and share. Also, for the most up-to-date information about the podcast, follow us on Twitter at C15 Podcast.